So welcome back to the Unapologetic Security Podcast. I'm here with our producer, Greg Galai, and my arch nemesis, Jason Lordigan. And just wanted to give a quick intro update. We went back in the studio day before yesterday and had an unbelievable session. I think we recorded probably 5 hours of content. We had a really, really great discussion with our first live guest, Ethan Johnson, probably one of the more preeminent CISOs of crypto security based companies, made my head explode. We also had Carl Wright join us from Attack IQ, one of our sponsored segments. We've been trying to get to Carl for some time and have owed an opportunity to do that. So what we wanted to do is do a quick cutscene here because the fact that we needed to chop up this content in a way that it's more consumable for folks. And we're reordering it in a way that I think would be a little more easy to understand. And so what you're going to see is actually, I think, probably 2, if not 3 individual releases of content. Our first one, we get to talk to Carl at Attack IQ. Jason, Ethan, and I. Ethan had already joined us. And kind of started with a high-level brushstroke of what was going on at Black Hat. But more importantly, kind of a big picture conversation that Carl shared with me and his personal frustrations in working in the industry for as long as we have and still dealing with the kinds of problems that we still deal with. So he's certainly an advocate for the USP program that we've put together here, but more importantly, wants to think about what solutions we can be putting in place, especially when you start thinking about critical infrastructure companies that aren't funded like financial institutions, and why our lack of policy or the strength of our U.S. policies don't have a stronger deterrent effect. And so that's probably a topic we're going to talk more about. It's interesting. Carl and I shared a conversation this weekend talking about how we would build on what we talked about, and kind of the intro convo that we had with our first release with AI and what that means for the security industry and how that amplifies what the threat behaviors are and how quickly what we see today in terms of noise, backscatter, and cyber attack can be replicated. Or as Carl said, how dumb shits can become advanced cyber attackers with the use of AI. And what that means for other institutions that aren't as well funded. And what that means then in the outcomes of economic or intellectual property protection, or more broadly, what it means for the protection of our nation and our way of living. So really interesting episode, and like much more to follow there. We also wanted to give a shout out to our friend Jeff and Cam over at Tech Fellow. We had talked about this on our last podcast. And with that, we have got an update to the requisitions. We share a little bit of more insight, and we're going to bring Jeff out to talk to us here in Studio A about, we hear over and over again, there's a dearth of security talent that's out there. But yet there's lots of jobs available too. So what's going on in the industry? Is the bar so high now that no one can meet it? Is everyone looking for unicorns? Or is it back to those first comments that we've talked about, in that no one really knows what they want, and that ambiguity has made it really hard to find the right people in the right role, and putting some energy into those things might be helpful in helping get good people lined up for good roles. Anyway, shout out to Jeff and Cam for that. And take a look at those roles that are there. If you're interested, hit us or our good friends at Tech Fellow for that. Episodes 2 and 3, you will see from that, we'll have an introduction to our former coworker, Ethan Johnson, and he'll give us about an hour-long review of what his experiences have been working kind of in the lion's den of crypto security or crypto companies, being the security bubba. So very interesting, his perspective in the way he explains the nascence of the crypto industry, the lack of security thinking that often follows into a nascent industry, and then think about the amount of money that grows through the growth of crypto, and what the risk tolerance and the risk picture of those organizations changes. And so that was a really cool and interesting segment. And then in episode 3, Jason and I have some topical talks from some of the outcomes from Black Hat. Specifically, we talk about CISA's release of the known exploited vulnerability database, and how you automate or how you institutionalize the automation of that information into a proper VM program, a proper testing program, as well as some more topical some more topical areas around what does it mean to be a CISO and have proper representation on the board, leaning on a Brian Krebs article, which is kind of interesting. So look forward to your listening. Like and subscribe. Hey, Greg, we just launched EP2 2 weeks ago. Over 400, 500 reviews, already getting comments. Anything you could add to the crowd for our intro here?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We had a ton of engagement on our first episode, well over 500 views, a ton of likes and comments and new subscribers. I think we're off to a great start. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to the studio.
So now for the next section. We had talked about this a couple times, finally got access to Carl. Thanks for joining us today. We call it our Vendor Corner. It's where we have an opportunity for one of our partners to come in. Attack IQ is a big champion of our program, and as well as a like mind in our industry. So Carl and I know each other from our Marine Corps days. I worked for Carl a couple years at Attack IQ, believe in the product, but more importantly, I believe in the people that are representative there and in the way he thinks. As part of being unapologetic with us, he's always got something to say about what's going on in industry and is willing to share those opinions in a unapologetic way, which is why I'm really glad to have him on the show. Quick round of introductions. Carl Wright, what is your job now at Attack IQ?
They call me the chief commercial officer.
What does that mean?
But, what it means is, I'm responsible for the strategy, go to market, kind of sales, marketing, customer success.
Everything but engineering.
Everything but engineering and finance. But mostly I just get held responsible for when shit doesn't go right. That's the way I think about it.
Touche. Well, I'm joined here. Yeah. You met Jason Lord, and then my good friend Ethan Johnson joined us earlier in the show today. Worked with us at Bridgewater back in the day and has been a crypto security guy for a long time. So this is awesome. This is our first show that we've had both an in-studio guest and an online guest. So bear with us, listeners, for any tech glitches or whatever. I hope this looks great. Greg will make it fucking look great. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, just a point of order. You said this is our vendor corner. I thought it was us cornering a vendor.
Yeah, touche. Well,
hey, you know what they say, and it is hunting season coming up. Don't corner a wild animal. Right?
All right. And then point of order 2, we've got 3 jar heads. Is this the maximum we're allowed to have?
I disagree. I think, but 4, no one will listen. We'll just burn the barn.
It just depends how many crayons you have and when they run out.
Exactly. The red ones taste best. I tell everyone that. All right.
So,
go ahead.
So listen, Carl, what we wanted to hear from you today, because all of us are screwing around for the summer and we didn't make it out to Black Hat. And when you and I chatted the other day, you said something really interesting to me. This is my 21st or 22nd Black Hat you've been to. So that's like all of them since the Alexandria Hotel when they were hacking into the ICS systems and shutting down the air conditioning and shit like that, which was super fun to be a part of because that's when, holy shit, cybersecurity got physical and started affecting real things and whatnot. But I think it would be really cool as a guy that's both in the vendor community and has mixed it up both on the sell and buy side. Give your read on what you saw at Black Hat and the broader trends, and then what's going on with Attack IQ, and we'll poke holes in it if we want to.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for that. So yeah, it's 20 plus years of Black Hat and DEF CON, right? And for those in your audience that don't have hair like you and me or have gray hair like others, if we go all the way back to the early days of DEF CON and Spot the Fed.
Oh,
remember
yeah.
That one?
Yeah. I grew out my beard for that. That was part of where this originally came from.
I always spent a lot of time in jail there, but I got a cool T-shirt. But look, Black Hat has evolved as all amazing conferences start. It's about content is king. I mean, there's a reason I like Black Hat, and there's a reason I loathe RSA, and I use a child-friendly vernacular there to talk about RSA. I think it's a pile of shit. But Black Hat for me has always been good, and what we find ourselves in now is a comparison between pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, kind of for Black Hat and what expectations are, and then for a vendor to overlay kind of our flawed view of the world on top of that, economic and technical buyer behavior changes. It always changes regardless of anything, but largely, Black Hat, which started, very, I would say, natural in supporting the cybersecurity community, and of course, as they always do, anything successful is rewarded with shit of vendors take over, marketing people take over, and all of a sudden you have this big conference that kind of manifests itself into an event.
Becomes a
right?
business. That's right.
Becomes a business, right? For me, largely though, over the 20 years, Black Hat, while it's still a business, content has still been king. And I think the nuance now post-pandemic has been that while buyer behavior has changed, this was the first conference I've been to post-pandemic where people were back. I mean, they were in person. The booth was incredibly busy. Lots of meaningful interactions were happening, and people were shopping. I mean, notwithstanding what the projection of the economic or microeconomic, macroeconomic conditions of the country are, lots of senior economic buyers were there looking for solutions to their problems, whether it's compliance related bullshit or, real threat informed defense things that they had to solve.
Got it. Were there any, like we just talked through before you joined us, the CISA's release of the known exploited vulnerability capability, and I thought that that really anchored well to like what MITRE ATT&CK was trying to do and its connection to CVSS. And so it's it's wonderful to see CISA releasing consumable product back to the masses as word you've used, democratization of security. They take all the mandatory reporting requirements about what's being exploited in the world from the incident reports, trace those back to implicated vulnerabilities, and then use that as a modicum of information that can help cyber defenders influence how they should be spending their dollar in defense. Brilliant, like good. Glad they're doing that. What were there other cool things that popped out that like struck you as like an innovation or something coming? And what did you guys do from Attack IQ perspective for the show?
It's a great setup, but I got to take it somewhere way negative first.
Okay, cool.
So this is the first show in a while where I saw, 2003 circa booths, like companies spending $3-4 million on crazy booths, right?
They got the booth bunnies and stuff back. They allow that?
No booth bunnies, but they had, booth AI bunnies running everywhere. But there was some major dollars being spent, by SentinelOne and CrowdStrike and all the usual players that you would suspect. And I mean, this is early RSA type of massive, crazy, 100-foot by 100-foot double-decker booths, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So that was very interesting. I hadn't seen that in a while. But I think, the more interesting thing, and Chris, you and I have talked about this in past lives, is all the marketing, whether it was those $3 to $5 million booths or, Startup Village, was really targeting the top 1% of the market, meaning the haves, the Citibanks, whatever, right?
Right.
You know who the top 1% of the people that buy majority of the cybersecurity technology. And while I get that, like, these are Series A, Series B, Series C companies spending a lot of money, to do their marketing thing at Black Hat, the realization is we're not doing enough as a country, whether it's CISA or it's these corporations, these startups, these technology firms, to help, the SMB marketplace with real cybersecurity issues.
Yeah.
Everything was targeted as what I call the haves versus the have-nots. So it's the soft underbelly of the cybersecurity journey in America, right?
Yeah, the irony of that for me is that, having worked in large scale institutions is first and foremost Series A, Series B, you're seldom going to be able to scale as a product to that size of an institution. Two, their buying practices and third party risk are going to like where is this company in its maturation model and Gartner rating and all that stuff? That's another topic for another day. But
Yeah.
but more importantly, to your point, we were just in some of the other parts of the conversation you missed today. We talked about what KEV means and the companies that are exposed. Microsoft being 20% of the KEV, and that implicating their software supply chain implications and how good of a job they're doing. So what does that mean for smaller firms that don't have nearly the horsepower or energy? And so you're right. And then we talked about this new SEC ruling, which applies
Yeah.
only to publicly traded companies. But all of those publicly
right.
traded companies are leaning into the software supply chain that's generated often in the small and medium sized businesses.
Totally.
And so like that risk is just inherited. So
No, look, I mean, you get why cybersecurity vendors focus on TAMs or total addressable markets that are large dollar, that they have sales teams and partners they know how to address. Obviously, going down market and supporting small, medium businesses is a more difficult challenge. And let's face it, most cybersecurity products that come out in their initial version, whatever they call it, MVP, are expert systems. They require organizations with capability maturity models. In my case, offensive cybersecurity teams, right? You're just not going to see an offensive cybersecurity team at a $5 billion market cap publicly traded company.
right,
The network person is the security person, right?
right,
And so I do think, and look, vendors are going to do what they have to do. I mean, they have a business model they have to support, but coming back to kind of the diatribe on Black Hat, it's just a lot of the things I saw were meant to solve the top 1% of the people with budgets problems, and not a lot was focused on what I call the soft underbelly of cybersecurity. And to your point, like, transitive trust exists everywhere today.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that SMB, company is providing, let's think healthcare, right? I mean, you got provider networks out there, and, they have someone who supports their clinical engineering environment, blood gas analyzer with a VPN from, Connecticut to, Dallas, right?
yeah,
And like those people are not vetted, but they have got unfettered access into your network, right? And what cybersecurity solutions are they deploying? So the Black Hat, seemed to me to continue to be about the haves versus the have-nots, which is fine. I mean, that's okay. But I spent a lot more time lately. Citibank, who spends $1 billion on cybersecurity, is going to be fine, right?
right.
The Citibank doesn't need to go to Black Hat, right, to figure out what's new and emergent. But I'm more worried about those power companies and some of those other people that quite frankly may not be in a good position to consume a lot of this.
Yeah, yeah. You business people need to come up with a better way to talk about down market. Like you need to rebrand that. Down market sounds bad, and the truth is, like, it's not bad. In fact, like that's like the underbelly you're talking about. It's very attractive. You got to do it different, and it's not gonna monetize the way that the 1% are gonna monetize. But there's plenty of work to be done, I think is your point, and there's a lot of help that's needed. But a lot of these companies are not targeting it, therefore tailoring the opportunity for these companies to take advantage of it.
Well, that's a perfect setup to the other question that you asked me, which is about Attack IQ. And so we've been a long time supporter of the community, whether it's through Attack IQ Academy, and geez, dude, you'll be surprised, we're over 55,000 students now in Attack IQ Academy in 190 countries, which is obviously doing free advanced cybersecurity education and everything around the optimization of MITRE ATT&CK.
Wait a minute, let me hear that again. You say 55,000? Like that was being launched 2 years ago, and you've had
I know
20. Like we were talking hundreds when I was involved, and now we're at 55,000.
Yeah.
So that's super cool.
It is cool, and again, with everything in life, it just doesn't matter what you do, but content is king.
Right.
And, producing amazing content that helps people up level, their people, their company, their mission, whatever it might be. So Attack IQ Academy has been great, but that content that I'm so fond of talking about all the time, it derives itself from CTID, the Center for Threat Informed Defense,
Certainly.
which is another thing that we do to give back to the community, which is around the state of the art, state of the practice of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, right? And
Right.
so a lot of we've done 23 projects in CTID, things like the Cloud Matrix, things like CTI blueprints, things like NIST 853 mapping to MITRE ATT&CK, or CVE mapping to MITRE ATT&CK. All of these projects lend themselves to teaching people how to take advantage of this research, right?
Right.
Take advantage of operation of that into it. So the Academy content drives itself, probably 80% from CTID, MITRE ATT&CK projects, which of course, that should have a broad appeal to the industry.
I hope people realize, and I know they don't because of how the nature of the internet works and we all steal each other's ideas, but the altruism that comes with the corporate commitment to like get involved in, you're a Series C company now, right? Am I mistaken?
Yeah.
Like the revenue cost to take your borrowed money from the venture capitalists and then take that money and spend it on research projects with federally funded research organizations so you can help shape and inform other organizations how to best automate testing and whatnot is like an incredible expense. And then what you're doing on the down market side to find a better term for that, to teach people how to operationalize it, and that's all free. It's like that's all education, content, new research that comes with no product. It comes no outboard selling product or anything like that. Your business model kind of depends on it, but like that's really powerful how much of an impact it has in the broader cybersecurity community in terms of what's available to people and costs them nothing to consume.
Yeah, you're spot on. I will make one slight adjustment to it. So Academy is 100% altruistic, meaning everything we do there is consumed for free by anybody that wants to come in, and we don't market to them from an Attack IQ product perspective or anything like that. And we offer them a lot from a community perspective to interact with each other and do different things within the Academy. But I will tell you, on the CTID, the Center for Threat Informed Defense, selfishly, the investments that we make in the center, which is substantial, a lot of the projects we work on, and the innovations that are derived from that, actually make it back into our product.
Yeah,
and so we have the benefit of working with organizations that are publicly known by CTID, like Citibank and Verizon and Healthcare America and other great technology companies, like CrowdStrike, or, there's a bunch. You guys can check out the CTID website.
Yeah.
But when I work on a project, and let's take a example like the cloud framework. Like when we joined CTID, all that existed was the enterprise matrix. That was it. There was no cloud matrix, no ICS matrix, no, microservices, Kubernetes, type of container framework, right? I mean, there was nothing. There was just, not nothing. There was the enterprise matrix, which was amazing, right? But all the mapping projects of the MITRE ATT&CK framework to Azure, to Google, to AWS, to NIST, to CVE, all of these things had to happen in order to make the MITRE ATT&CK consumable by more people. And the reality of the story is we benefited. And this is really a statement for all the other companies out there in the world, whether they're vendors or consumers of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Being a member of CTID allows you to help control, just like the Linux Foundation controls where Linux goes, where the MITRE ATT&CK framework goes. And the more smart people we bring together to work on hardcore projects for the advancement of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, the better it gets and the more we kick the ass of the adversary, right?
Yeah.
And then, for me personally, like lots of that research just makes it back into our product. And with great, amazing minds like yourself and other people that participate in it.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Well, like, but again, that research also could make it into other people's products, and that's okay because that's
Totally.
the nature of what the research
Yeah.
is. So
No, that
we all
part is
move along
altruistic,
together.
but
Yeah,
we do. We get better as a team, right? That's really the message, right? And as you know, all too well, both of you guys do, the adversaries continue to share information way better than we do.
yeah,
And CTID certainly is a platform for us. And a lot of these companies that participate, by the way, are actually taking all of their threat, engineering, detection engineering information, all the things that they're seeing that had been closely held as proprietary in the past,
mm-hmm.
and they're helping use that to inform how we do stuff with MITRE ATT&CK.
You know,
Right?
it's funny, a reflection as you were describing that in terms of how that community is evolving reminds me of like when Jason and I were in the government, and the economy of an incident responder 15 years ago was the indicator of compromise, and we put pressure on who was in charge before Jen Easter, way before that, before U.S. CERT was U.S. CERT, trying to get Homeland and JTF-GNO to, like, we just want an indicator database to put.
You talk about it. Talk about our buddy and meet.
It might have been a meet. I remember being in the G1st conference.
Cyber Czar.
Where is our indicator sharing database? Because if not, I was with Chris Kinahan at the time. He's now over at Sony. Big ups to him. Like, we're going to stand up our own. And like, this is pre-Styx taxi and all that stuff. But I guess the point being is that there was already a collaborative community across government that was sharing the outputs of their basically their malware reverse engineering research and the methods and capabilities we put in place. And now that's been more formally codified in what MITRE's doing with ATT&CK, which is great. And it's creating this momentum that's allowing more industry-wide collaboration and sharing across the vendor community. And what I'm hearing out of you is that get on it. Like, there's more to be done here and more to contribute to, and it helps you as a evolving company get more research for your dollar investment because of who contributes to it.
But if you share that, the bad guys are going to get it.
That's right. That's right.
The bad guys.
Yeah,
but the bad guys.
Fuck the bad guys.
Yeah. Well, the bad guy knows we have, F-16s and F-18s, and they still can't do anything about it. So that's fine.
That's why they made their own F-35.
That's right. Looks just like
like ours.
Just like it.
Hey, so I got to take this to another place,
okay.
if you don't mind.
You always do.
And so, I'm at Black Hat, and, Jen was there, and I think the world of her. I think, this has evolved significantly, the private-public partnership, a lot. It's gone a long way. I'm a huge fan of the SIS alerts, right? But I'm going to tell you, for as much money as we pay as taxpayers, I just think it's fucking stupid. Can I say that on this?
Yeah, this is the unapologetic security. It's rated R on YouTube, I think. Is that right, Greg?
Thank you. I think it's fucking stupid that a down market company or an up market company has to defend themselves from a nation state cyber threat.
Yeah.
When we have an entire goddamn Department of Defense that we fund.
Yeah.
We fund them, and they're responsible for defense. But the antiquated view of defending the homeland from adversaries approaching us like Pearl Harbor or 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, they're approaching us that way every day, cyber.
Yeah.
And what are we doing? We're not helping our citizens and our corporations. And so I think, largely CIS has come a long way, but the lack of coordination with DoD to defend our capitalistic interests is bullshit.
Yeah. I have a couple of thoughts on that. Like, I'm looking at Jason, I'm waiting. I mean, he's like chewing his fist right now, like that scene in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou when they hear the sirens. Look, my big picture. Well, they started. Remember, a long time ago, They tried to. Remember when they took the DoD monitoring capability and they created the Einstein 1, 2, and 3 program? They tried to hang all that out in front of Jason. Tried to hang all that out in front of all the government, and then they tried to.
He's done.
Yeah, he's out. Then they tried to operationalize that commercially through the ISP vendors, AT&T and whatnot. Actually,
Yep.
Jason and I were just musing, talking about going to Washington, D.C. One of the first things we wanted to do in 2015 when we came up to New England was like, look, like, getting top secret indicators are really important. They got a sensor that'll help you with that. We're going to do that. But my point.
Also, Rip Akiva, AK-47.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Lost a bro. That was like a move towards a active defense model, right? At least with tipping and queuing. But the way that got managed, it turned into a thing you could legally never get out of and actually wasn't valuable because what you got was an alert with no context built around it because of the source of the content.
No, because the output was whatever they wanted to provide.
So,
and they wanted your data going in.
That's
so
right.
Our trip to DC was
right.
They invited us, right? We said, hey, huge financial service, largest hedge fund in the world. We have all of this U.S. infrastructure that are our clientele. We have this data. And they said, hey, come down here. Like, we'll get you set up. We'll give you sensors. We'll give you the data, blah, blah, blah. And we went down there and they're like, do you have a security clearance? Yeah, we have all these people that have security. Do you have a change code?
So you guys fine, but look, that's all
like year and a half.
That's all detection engineering bullshit, right? I don't like detection engineering, right? I mean, you need it, fine, go do it.
Sure.
What I'm talking about is when a foreign adversary, comes after and causes Sony a bad day.
Yeah.
When a foreign adversary comes after and causes a colonial pipeline a bad day, and maybe it's the crime syndicate, I don't care, but they're operating in countries that basically are not doing anything about it, right?
Yeah.
Then our response to that is we hammer them. We actually hammer them with deterrence, right? Not, what we do today.
Like we pussyfoot around the cyber thing when we know all this is happening. And like where I was getting to was that CISA tried an active defense model and got backed into, due to lawyers and other political issues, into like, we'll just share information and give you information. And that's what Jen's doing today in a good way. But the reality is like, is the government going to stand back and allow cyber to be weaponized against our critical economic infrastructure or not? And like the only people
or Joe's Pizza Shop.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and where's the cut line of critical infrastructure when, the division of economics is as broad as it is now? Like, we're not going to eat because Joe's Pizza Shop shut down. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, look, so I think it's more than that. I think it's about defending our cyber terrain. We have a cyber terrain. It's very,
sure,
we can put a line around it. And I also think we have to skate to where the puck's going to be in 5 years, not be reactive to what happened yesterday or the last 5 months. And what I mean by that is the severity and frequency of attacks is going to go up over the next 5 years. Most corporations don't act like they're on a wartime footing. And therefore, the op-tempo of the security teams is horrible. They're just constantly clearing queues of events of interest all day long, constantly, right? The living one, Move It. Move It was almost as bad as SolarWinds, but it didn't get as much publicity because everyone's atrophied. Oh shit, another SolarWinds.
It's alert fatigue,
right?
Yeah.
But there was more valuable information in Move It than there was in SolarWinds.
What do you mean? More valuable?
Like faster.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like the information, like it's like, well, look, like how many times you got to turn that crank before people like have a 0-day patch machine? Like maybe we're getting somewhere broadly in the CISO and IT communities that like asset management does matter. So when this shit happens, I can go turn that crank real fast. I mean, like that's the only muscle we have that has been well established. And to your point, Carl, I think what you're saying you want out of CISA is a more aggressive integration at the political level, that there's actual ramifications for these activities, so we can have confidence that if Citibank is had, that something's going to happen to hopefully keep that from happening again.
Yeah, I think it happens on multiple levels. I think first of all, I'm woefully underwhelmed with the response to properly attributed major campaigns against individuals and corporations in this
The
country.
MITRE ATT&CK
Right?
framework is the public codification of that. Like, we know
Yeah.
this is what they're going to do, and we're not stopping it. We're building frameworks to defend against it.
At another level,
Write that down.
I don't know how many thirst traps you guys have got on LinkedIn lately, but I seem to get a lot of connection requests
Oh my God!
from Chinese attractive women.
It's
that
only you,
want to be
Carl.
connected to me.
Only you.
Yeah. So, like, when do we hold LinkedIn fucking responsible for knocking down the thirst traps? I mean, this is bullshit.
Chris texted me earlier this week. Who the fuck do we still know at LinkedIn?
Yeah, like thirst trap. I've not heard thirst trap as a term, but I was like, not today, ISIS.
Hey, by the way, that's Frank. That's a Franklin Martinez. I'm going to give him 1,000%
Thirst
credit
trap.
until Black Hat. I didn't know what that was until Black Hat. He was educating me on TikTok.
I will
We'll send you some pictures of what thirst traps are.
like maybe this will get the CISO of LinkedIn on the show, but I did go and look up the CISO of LinkedIn because I thought we had a peer there named Ashish. She went somewhere else, and on his professional credibilities, he has a $49.99 purchased PhD from the School of Hard Knocks listed in his professional qualifications.
Nice.
To which I have now purchased one for a friend to hang on her wall as well. So we'll go get his name and put him in here. You can put the stamp in the words. The thirst traps.
All right. Well, anyway, so look, it's at the individual level, corporate level. But I don't know. It probably offends some people on your show.
It's okay.
Maybe not if your demographic's good. I don't know if you can read the sign behind me.
I can't. I see
It
you.
summarizes.
It looks like you look like the Matrix.
It says, "Warning: registered gun owner, do not trespass." That's how I feel about cyber. Warning.
Yeah.
China, Russia, and all those other fun players. Don't trespass on our cyber terrain. We're a registered gun owner.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Like that's a political culture problem. I don't know how we solve for. Like, I think it's all who you vote for.
Well, I was the CISO at the White House when we indicted a bunch of.
Were you the
Russian,
CISO at the White House?
Yeah, I mean, at one point, when we did the indictment of Russian officers and all of the outcome of that, but every person on my staff, every peer that I had in government, making hundreds and thousands of jokes, be like, "This is our action. Like, this is how we're defending against alleged Russian attacks. This is our response to Cozy Car and Cozy Bear.
Yeah.
We're going to write indictments of people that we can never arrest."
Right.
So,
Look, I'll give you one counterpoint, only that we haven't had one yet. We all think are in violent agreement. At the same time, like, I know people on the mill side of this. I was on the mill side of this. At least you and I were back in the day before the offensive capabilities had developed. And I do take some stock, solace, and confidence that the reason we are as ginger about dealing with these things internationally is because we're exploiting them as much as they're exploiting us. And somebody, hopefully somewhere, is making the trade-off, and that ambiguity gives more reward than risk. But I don't know.
when does that stop us?
So look, I hear you, but we're trading trillions of dollars of wealth, and all our intelligence community is getting is intel, who's not actually, from a capitalistic perspective, feeding that to companies that could do good with it, right? So our fundamental sense of fair play is hurting us here, from that perspective. And so I think our first responsibility is to the defense of our residents, our citizens of this country, and the corporations that that they work at and depend on for their livelihood. I'm over fucking intel people. Over. Over. Okay. Over. Their squirrely secret world that they think they live in.
Yeah.
While real corporations and mom and pop companies are suffering. So fuck the Chinese.
Yeah.
Don't buy it. Right. I mean, don't buy their products. Hurt them where it needs to. And our government, my personal opinion, needs to take a much stronger response to interdicting them and kind of what the impact to us is, right?
Well,
Well, I mean, there's also another side to it, and like I support what you're saying, Carl. We also have two generations of Americans that only know that we built the nuke bomb because there's a blockbuster hit out right now that so they could go drink high noons and watch 3.5 hours of
IMAX.
Yeah, in IMAX. So, like, we have a lot to do as well, and we need to force that agenda. We need to make sure that the lawmakers and our government counterparties, and I'm with you, fuck the S2.
Well, like as the true entrepreneur in the room, like the rest of us have turned into corporate slogs in many ways. Like I kind of believe in this in the climate change sense, but the reality is I think the same kind of thing needs to happen. Like, what do us old salts do when we retire? We go and put together a marketing and campaigning company to like influence our government to do better at this. And we do that by exposing how vulnerable and weak we really are, and use that as a way to rally political discontent to be able to like get people voted in to make that an agenda item. You have to think through the knock-on consequences. So we have to go become influence operators when we're done operating as security guys.
Can we
maybe?
Can we make a cybersecurity thank you for smoking movie? I'm in.
That's a good idea. That's a good. Do we know anyone at Netflix that could help us with that?
Doubt it.
I think you're onto something there. I mean,
yeah.
One of my biggest complaints is the lack of cybersecurity training and education in K through 12. Right. Yeah. I mean, these kids are incredibly proficient at using lots of different technology that we would have dreamed of back in the day.
Right.
But they're getting absolutely no real education on, the use of that from a cybersecurity perspective, and as well as what it can mean for them later in life.
Yeah,
if they want a career in that direction, right?
Yeah.
So,
Mike, how many passwords do you have for all of your online accounts?
Not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
one.
Do you use a password manager? No. Yeah, there you go.
I had one, but then
one password. You're the guy.
Manager.
But you have Snapchat. You got TikTok. Okay.
It takes time to catch up.
Hey, so one of the things I want to bring it back around to, Chris, you asked about. One of the things we recently did at Attack IQ, and this is not a sales pitch. It's really maybe an example of solving what more corporations could do to help democratize certain aspects of cybersecurity from a capability maturity model perspective. And so, Attack IQ's main product, Enterprise, is very sophisticated. It's meant for offensive security engineers, people like from Bridgewater, from financial sectors, healthcare sectors,
the 1%
sectors. Yeah, it's the 1%. And it can go down market, but usually not with the best results in the world, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, it like so many things in life, it depends on the people. Like, there may be a mid-market company that has a guy or a gal who's amazing that can really, get good value out of it. But we understand, particularly in America, for the world, there's skills gaps out there.
Yeah.
And offensive engineering is probably one of the biggest, skills gap area. So, one of the things that we're interested in doing is democratizing certain aspects of cybersecurity that are very advanced. One of them has been offensive testing. And so we released at Black Hat this year a new product called Flex, which allows someone to enumerate an entire, what we call attack graph, and MITRE ATT&CK language, attack flow, or in a CTI language, a campaign, multinodal type of thing, where it's agentless. Someone just clicks on it, click, done, enumerates the entire attack. It could attack the host you're on, harvest credentials, attack the domain controller, do a scan for other things, use that, and continue the attack for whatever amount of nodes of the campaign that's appropriate. But the point of this is like this used to be the purview of the red team, or in our case, someone who is an offensive engineer picking what content to run. And in this particular scenario, like literally any blue team member, who understands their EDR, understands their next gen firewall, understands whatever they're responsible for, can double click on this and do very advanced adversarial testing. And so my point of this is like when we think about, the 2,000 security products that are available on the market today, 2,000 is probably an understatement, right?
It is. Yeah.
How many of these are built for just anybody who's on the IT shop, let alone the cybersecurity shop, to be able to affect a better outcome for their business, right?
Yeah.
And so I do think and believe very strongly, and I'm constantly putting pressure on the MITRE ATT&CK team and the CTID team, Center for Threat Informed Defense team, that we have to do a better job of building research for MITRE ATT&CK, building products for MITRE ATT&CK that democratize the ability for anybody to use it, not just cybersecurity professionals. So that's a big theme for me for the next 12 months.
Yeah. And that connects back to what you're saying. Like if the government's not going to defend medium and small businesses against state-sponsored attackers, then we got to find a way to take accessible defensive capabilities to the medium and small business. I mean,
yeah, we have to shift the burden. I mean, we have cost. We have to make.
Damn it.
Montana strikes again.
To make it very expensive that they have to move on somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't really want to shift the burden from our country to other countries because they have their own problem as well. But if we do a good job, our responsibility is for our country, right? And obviously, Attack IQ is multinational. We're helping everyone, but as a community, it's all about shifting burden. It's all about shifting risk. And what are the things that we can do at every level in America to harden our infrastructure, harden our personal lives against cyber, type of theft, in order to make it, more attractive for the prince from Nigeria to go to somewhere else.
or the thirst. What was it? The thirst.
The thirst trap from LinkedIn,
Thirst
right?
trap from LinkedIn. Go find somebody else to troll. Awesome.
The Nigerian prince scheme, it's been around for what, like 15, 18 years or something?
Yeah.
And it's still,
still works.
Still works.
Still works. People are dumb. People click anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you mean scheme?
You're right. You got some money out of that? Well, Carl, I think what we should do, man, like when we'll have you back next show, but I think we should do a deep dive on Flex. I mean, if you're successful in where you're trying to go for the next 12 months in bringing this democratization of security testing to the masses, we should go deep on that. I think that would be, good. Another way and another opportunity to educate the broader community, our listening community and whatnot. So I think that would be fun.
Well, let's do that. I'm already, super excited about the adventure in the sense in the first 4 days, we have 10,000 users on the platform from Academy, which, you would expect in a lot of different countries. So yeah, it's unique in the sense that it's built for pay as you go, not, go buy something for $100,000, right?
Right. Use what you need. Good. That makes sense.
But the other thing we should talk about next time, I love to talk about the analysts.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's seed that. Let me guess where you're going. Obviously with AI and all that, are we replacing the analyst in the future? Is that the thing? Is that dumb work?
Well, Pete Lubin, who you guys both know incredibly well.
Yeah.
Both of us did a talk at Black Hat, and Pete came up with the idea. He's like, I'm so pissed right now. Shocking, Pete saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, angry Pete. So he's like, who do you think sets my purchasing decisions? Is it the vendor with fear and FUD? Is it the board? Is it the risk people? Is compliance, right?
It's the people that ask for the people that work for him.
Yeah, yeah. Like who do you think? Is it Gartner? Is it an analyst firm? Who do you think has the biggest influence about what I'm going to buy today?
The kids.
Right?
What do you want for Christmas?
Right? Well, yeah, no. But it was an illuminating conversation. And as a spoiler, It wasn't Gartner.
Right. Right. Yeah, that well, we can tee that up as like where you're seeing that going from both the D&E response, managed services, and how that dovetails into automated testing, offensive sec, and like I've got a story connected to that too. When you and I were working together, we'd go talk to some of these red team companies. First off, some of these premier red team companies, never make it to the medium and small business because they don't have the money or energy to invest in that. So they get an Nmap scan for as cheap as possible and call it pen testing. And we were talking about the leave behinds that come out of, you bring in this expert tester and do a thing, you find some problems, but there's no residual leave behind. And I'd ask for codify, what I want in my contract is you codify what you did and give me a way to perpetually test for that. So when it is eliminated, it doesn't come back. And I'm not waiting for you to come find it again next year and make fun of me for it. And it was not a healthy conversation. It was like, this is our IP and this is what we do. And I'm like, well, if you're not perpetually building towards something that can be commoditized and then consumed, how are we ever raising the bar?
Well, based on this conversation today, you could probably speculate I have a lot to say about the analysts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good. Well, cool, man. Well, it was great. Thanks for coming on the show. I want to be respectful of your time. I'm sorry, Jailer.
Parting question.
Very,
very important.
Yeah.
Fire.
In the hand-to-hand combat match between Zuck and Musk, who's going to win?
I mean, here's the thing. It's got to be Musk.
Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. You're the only one, J-Lord. Give me your wallet.
No.
Yeah, Zuck is infinitesimally unlikable. I'd bet tons of money in Vegas on Musk. Even if I lose it, it wouldn't matter. I couldn't bet $1 on Zuck and Facebook. Sorry.
These things got principality, Smokey.
No.
Yeah.
I refuse.
Messing with my money is like messing with my emotions. Awesome. All right. Well, Carl, we'll hit you up next week. We're going to try to get in a battle rhythm of this about every 2 weeks. I think that's what we can.
Yeah.
We think makes sense.
But I mean, really surprising. Two Marines can't pull their shit together.
Right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Stop it. But look, I have to tell you, we're super excited to be sponsoring this with you guys, and of course, I love what you're doing. We need more real talk in cyber.
Yeah.
Too many people are just focused on slapping each other on the back, and I think more people need to get fired. So I want to talk about things that make a difference and how using your forum that you have and your guys' great minds, maybe we can put some ideas out there. And likewise, I'd like people to make fun of us and come back hard if they think we're dumb.
Yeah.
So
please bring it on, dude. All right.
Now I know they'll be talking to you about that, but not me. But go ahead.
That's right.
We'll retag it.
That's why it's our platform.
Yeah. Happy to be with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carl. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks, Carl. It's really, really cool to get to see you. Continuing on with our supported community, I wanted to give a big shout out to Tech Fellow. We're bringing up a slide real quick to talk about the opportunities they have. It's kind of interesting, Jay. One of the points we brought up earlier was that I didn't attach it here. I sent it last week. It's the same slide. I saw this really interesting post on LinkedIn that says that that we keep reading about this dearth of talent that is in the cybersecurity industry, and then this kind of fun to watch the post is like, is there really a dearth of talent? Because I'm available, and there were 1,000 applicants to this job.
Yeah.
And here's Ethan, talking about premier cybersecurity guy in crypto, and he's looking for frac work right now. So what's going on in the industry? I don't know. Maybe no one's good enough, and there's a weird standards changing, or maybe that we don't know how to hire cybersecurity people anymore. So I'm looking forward to getting our friends at TechFellow on to have this conversation. But that said, there's jobs out there. Here's a security architect job that pays really well. Yes, it's in New York City, and yes, it's a tough operating culture. But you don't get to make big money if you're not tough. And frankly, that's where the challenge and the learning comes from anyway. So I think it's great to stare at these opportunities. Reach out to us if you're interested. There is work there. I mean, there maybe is a dearth of talent, but I think there's also a dearth of opportunities. The sweet spot is matching the people, the right kind of people, to the right kinds of jobs. That's what our friends at Tech Fellows do. So please take a look. Reach out to those guys or us if you want any help exploring those roles.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a titan in the security industry,
that's right.
Like, you know this better than anyone else. So I had a really good conversation with Jeff over at Tech Fellows last week about what's going on in the industry. Obviously, we've spoken about this. We talked about it on the podcast. The LinkedIn type approach of people just blasting out job descriptions, highly ineffective. And
we got to teach Jeff about the thirst trap.
Yeah, the thirst trap. And there's, plenty of jobs, plenty of roles out there. And then, just in passive looking and talking to people, seeing the same roles come up time and time again. So I would really like to dig into that with Jeff and others in the industry that are seeing the trends that are out there. Because you and I can sit down and come up with a list of 20 cybersecurity people that are looking for work right now.
Yeah.
It looks like people are hiring, or we're all getting fleeced.
More so, I know a bunch of people in roles they're frankly struggling in or probably shouldn't be in. So, needless to say, it's the job of management to get the right people in the right roles, and the job of the recruiters to get those candidate pipelines filled.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to hear to make sure you get the right person for the role. All right, I think that's enough.
Listen for the click, bruh.
Come on,
Bruh.
All right, well, this was really good. I really enjoyed the day. Both of you, Greg, as always, couldn't do it. Literally couldn't do any of this without you. Greatly appreciated.
You're welcome.
I'm going to buy you a new hat, though. And thank you for our mixology. Like and subscribe.
Awesome drink.
And we'll be dropping 1 or 2, 3, who knows?
Who knows?
Episodes soon. And please stay tuned for more. I'm going to play us out.
Play us out. Let's get a drink.
All right.